The Vietnam War pushed American weapons to their absolute limits. Jungles, tunnels, brutal close combat. But one machine gun killed more enemy soldiers than any other weapon in the entire war. Soldiers called it the Pig. The men who carried it had a life expectancy of just 7 seconds after pulling the trigger. 7 seconds. This is every deadly rifle and machine gun that defined the conflict. Buckle up.
The machine guns. These are the weapons that rained hell from the sky and held defensive lines against impossible odds. M60, the Pig. Often called the Pig, it provided heavy fire for the squad, but was a real beast to carry through the mud. July 22, 1966, a Marine company walked into a North Vietnamese ambush. Machine gun fire erupted from 3 sides. Men dropped, screaming, chaos. Then, Lance Corporal Richard Pittman grabbed a 23-pound M60 and did something insane. He charged directly into enemy fire. What happened next earned him the Medal of Honor and proved why the M60 became Vietnam's most iconic weapon. This beast fired 7.62mm NATO rounds at 550 rounds per minute with an effective range of 1,100 meters. Every soldier in rifle squads carried an extra 200 rounds just to feed this hungry monster. It was everywhere. Helicopter doorways, bunker positions, infantry squads, riverboats. But here's what made machine gunners the bravest men in Vietnam. The average life expectancy of an M60 gunner after opening fire? 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That's how long you had before enemy fire zeroed in on your position. The M60 attracted the most attention in any firefight. Every gunner knew this. They pulled the trigger anyway. Vietnam's humid jungles caused it to jam. The barrel change lever caught on vegetation and released without warning, dropping the scalding hot barrel in the mud. Triggers would malfunction and guns would run away, firing uncontrollably until the belt ran dry. Despite these deadly flaws, when the Pig roared, the enemy went silent. Because for those 7 seconds, you were the most powerful person on the battlefield. And sometimes 7 seconds is all you need to save your entire squad.
M2 Browning, my Deuce. This weapon should not still exist. It was designed near the end of World War I, but over a century later, it's still killing. Here's why my Deuce is immortal. The M2 Browning fired .50 BMG ammunition at 450 to 600 rounds per minute. Muzzle velocity, 2,810 feet per second. Maximum effective range, 2,000 yards. That's beyond any other infantry weapon. In Vietnam, legendary Marine sniper Carlos Hathcock mounted a scope on an M2 and achieved kills beyond 2,000 yards. That record stood for over 30 years. But distance wasn't everything. The .50 caliber armor-piercing incendiary rounds could penetrate light armor, demolish concrete fortifications, stop vehicles dead, and even shoot down helicopters. Weighing 128 pounds with its tripod, my Deuce was mounted on everything. Helicopters, tanks, trucks, APCs, Navy patrol boats. On fire-based perimeters, its range and power stopped enemy movement within 900 yards. The psychological impact was devastating. When my Deuce opened up, that distinctive deep thump, thump, thump announced one message: you're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Today, in 2025, American forces still use the M2 Browning. Same basic design, same devastating power. Some weapons are just too perfect to replace. The M2 isn't just a gun, it's a legacy.
M134 Minigun, electric death. Capable of firing thousands of rounds per minute, this weapon became iconic in the Vietnam War, turning jungle nights into a terrifying wall of lead from helicopters.
There's a sound that made enemy soldiers drop their weapons and run. Not explosions, not screaming, a mechanical buzz that meant certain death was raining from the sky. The M134 Minigun fired at an astonishing rate, 2,000 to 6,000 rounds per minute. Read that again, 6,000 rounds per minute. That's 100 bullets every single second. The 6 rotating barrels created a continuous stream of fire that could literally saw through jungle vegetation and enemy positions like a chainsaw cutting through butter. Mounted on UH-1 Huey gunships and AC-47 Spooky aircraft, the minigun represented pure American technological dominance. Weighing 85 pounds and requiring external electrical power to rotate its barrels, once it spun up, nothing survived. Nothing. Door gunners used it during troop insertions and extractions. The visible red tracer streams looked like laser beams cutting through darkness. One minigun could deliver more firepower in 10 seconds than an entire infantry platoon could deliver in a full minute. Let that sink in. Ammunition consumption was equally staggering. Large metal boxes fed continuous belts to sustain fire. Each box held thousands of rounds, and they emptied in seconds. The distinctive buzz and tracer fire revealed helicopter positions to enemy forces. But the psychological effect was worthwhile. When the minigun buzzed, resistance became futile. The enemy had 2 choices, run or die. Most chose to run.
M79 Grenade Launcher, the Blooper. Nicknamed the Blooper, the Thumper, or Bloop Tube for its distinctive firing sound, this weapon gave every infantry squad something they desperately needed: portable artillery. The M79 Grenade Launcher was adopted in December 1960 and first delivered to troops in 1961. It became standard equipment when major army divisions arrived in Vietnam in 1965. This single-shot, break-action weapon looked like a sawed-off shotgun, but fired 40 by 46 millimeter grenades with devastating effect. Soldiers called it the platoon leader's artillery because it filled the critical gap between hand grenades and mortars. Maximum effective range? 350 meters. Compare that to a hand grenade's 30 to 40 meters. The M79 fired multiple ammunition types: high explosive, smoke, illumination, buckshot, and flechette rounds. Each grenade armed itself after traveling about 30 meters, which created a dangerous minimum engagement distance. This meant grenadiers typically carried only an M1911 pistol for close-range defense, making them vulnerable in close combat. But at medium range, the M79 was devastating. The weapon weighed approximately 6.5 pounds, and skilled operators could achieve remarkable accuracy. Thump, silence, then boom! That sequence became the soundtrack of Vietnam. Some special operations units modified M79s by shortening barrels and stocks for easier carrying during classified missions. The M79 was eventually replaced by the M203 underbarrel launcher, but old-school operators preferred the Blooper for its superior range and accuracy. The Vietnam War was fought with a massive arsenal, and we've only just scratched the surface with these 4 legendary machine guns. Since there's so much more to cover, Part 2 is coming up next, where we'll dive deep into the rifles that defined the era. But first, I want to hear from you. Which of these, the Pig or Ma Deuce, do you think was more reliable in the jungle? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next chapter on Vietnam's iconic rifles. See you in the next one.